Thanksgiving's almost here, Christmas isn't that far off. It's the time of year for stuffing. And today I'm going to show you how I make my Southwestern Chorizo stuffing. So yes, there is the controversy about stuffing versus dressing. Stuffing's only in the bird, dressing is what you bake in a casserole. I'm calling it stuffing, but we are baking it in the oven today. To start off here, I have my pan on my induction burner, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fry up a pound of pork chorizo. I'm gonna break this down in here. There are many different brands of chorizo, pick your favorite. You want to get all that nice fat released from this meat here because we're going to use all of it. My induction burner is set on power level 5, so just about medium heat. Looking good here, smelling great. You can see all that nice red fat coming out of there. It's from all the spices and seasoning in the chorizo sausage. To this, I'm now going to add a stick of unsalted butter. We're also going to add a cup and a half of chopped onion. It's been chopped pretty small, not a dice or anything super fine, but not big pieces. I'm also going to add a cup and a half of chopped celery, about the same size. We want the onions to soften. We're not trying to caramelize anything. We're also just trying to get everything to absorb a lot of flavor here. All right, we're gonna let this cook down for a few minutes. All right, this is looking good. I'm gonna turn this off. We're gonna set this aside and we're gonna move on to some of the other seasonings we're gonna be using before we get our bread into the picture. So I have my little Ninja food processor here, and to this I'm gonna add 1.5 ounces of a freeze-dried roasted corn. Now I got this idea from something I saw on the Bon Appetit YouTube channel where they used corn nuts to add more corn flavor to a cornbread stuffing. Well, I didn't want to use corn nuts to impart a corn flavor here because there's a lot more salt and things in that. I just wanted sort of the actual corn flavor, so freeze-dried roasted corn will be nice. It also kind of gives you that taste of masa, you know, like from tamales, since we're doing a Southwestern stuffing. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of cracked black pepper and a teaspoon of kosher salt. Now I did say, oh, I don't want the salt from the corn nuts. I'm controlling the salt here and what I want in it. And we're going to process this. That's what I'm looking for, not a super fine powder. You can still see little chunks in there. This is going to help distribute that corn flavor throughout the stuffing. Let's move on to our bread. So the bread I'm using today is French bread. Now this right here are 2 loaves of French bread, 16 ounces each. I tore them apart just by hand because I wanted to keep that sort of rustic feel to them with the crust on. Then I dried them out in a 200-degree oven for about an hour and a half. That gets you a really nice dried out consistency. So to this, we're going to sprinkle our corn mixture. Just want to sprinkle it all over. Sort of get in there, mix everybody in, get everybody dusted. Now we're going to add our chorizo, onion, and celery mixture with all the juices. Just want to give that a quick little mix, get it distributed a little bit here. Now I'm going to add some chicken broth. I've got 32 ounces here. I'm not going to add it all at once, but we'll probably end up using quite a bit of it. And if we need more, I've got more in the refrigerator. Just want to get this around here. Get in there and mix a bit. Keep adding our chicken broth here. And you can start to feel when you're mixing this with a spoon, the pieces are starting to soften a bit. Still need a lot more liquid, but they're just starting to take on that chicken broth and all the other juices here. Some more. It always feels like you're adding too much, but it never is. And you know what? If you do end up adding too much, you know what you can do? Take some extra bread you have, some day-old bread, some stale bread, break it into pieces, add it in. You don't even have to toast it. Keep adding. So far, that is 32 ounces of chicken broth. Now, if you don't have chicken broth or you run out, use water. I'm gonna add about 8 ounces more here from another box. So that's a total of about 40 ounces so far. I can feel that now it's starting to soften really good, and all the big pieces that are kind of crusty, they're starting to take on that liquid, all that moisture. Now, if you like your bread pieces smaller, you can certainly break them down smaller. I like them on the larger size, a little more rustic. That is looking pretty good there. I'm gonna shift to using my hands to mix this up, but before I do that, I wanna add 2 eggs that have been lightly beaten. Now, I don't always use eggs, and there's a lot of people who just hate the idea of eggs in stuffing like this, but you know what? If you don't want them in there, you don't have to put them in. I just want there to be a little more body, and the eggs help with that. Oh, this is looking good. And you can feel it when you're using your hands. The hard pieces in there, they're gonna start soaking up the rest of this liquid. We're gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes before we put it in the baking dish to let all the rest of those juices, that moisture absorb. All right, that's looking good. We're gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes, like I said, and then we're gonna get it into our baking dish. So the baking dish I'm gonna be using is an 11 by 14. We'll probably get a little bit extra here, so I'll just make a smaller, extra little bit of stuffing on the side. And I'm just gonna take some unsalted butter, same as we used in our stuffing, and grease this up. Now let's load our stuffing in. Filling this dish up. And you know what? I think we might actually make it here. I don't know that we're gonna have to make an extra pan. Perfect. One of the advantages to keeping the stuffing sort of thin in here so it's not too deep is you get a quicker cook on it, and you get that nice crispy top once you take the foil off. So you can see this is good. We're not all the way up to the edge. We're gonna cover this with a piece of foil. And that's gonna stay on for about the first 30 minutes. We're gonna be baking this for about 45 minutes at 350. So let's go ahead and get it in the oven. In 30 minutes, we'll be taking the foil off the top and let it finish for 15 minutes to sort of crisp up. All right, it has been 30 minutes. Let's get the foil off. All right, we're gonna get this back in. It's gonna go for another 15 minutes or so until that top sort of crisps up and gets golden brown. And I'll bring you back when it's out of the oven and ready to taste. All right, here is our Southwest Chorizo stuffing. It is straight out of the oven, and it is lava hot right now. So I'm gonna let this cool for about 15 or 20 minutes, then we're gonna cut into it and have a taste. So here is our Southwestern Chorizo stuffing, all plated up. Now I went ahead and I put some cotija cheese on top, shaved it, and some marinated red peppers. So I think that looks really nice, and it's gonna taste great with it. I'm gonna save this plate on the side for other people. This piece over here is for me, so it's time to taste. And I'm just gonna dive right in. Nice crust on the outside, moist on the inside. That's the way I like it. Let's see. Chorizo is just one of those things with the flavors that I love. If you have it chorizo and eggs, chorizo mixed with ground beef and tacos, and I gotta say, going with stuffing, perfect to give it that Southwestern sort of punch. The other really nice thing I'm getting here, it is a cornbread sort of taste with this. That freeze-dried roasted corn that we pulverized with salt and pepper mixed in with the bread really imparts that flavor. So I think it just sort of increases the southwesterny flavor of this, like you're getting masa from a tamale. This would be something that would go absolutely perfect if you were, say, doing a turkey for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and you were giving it a little bit of that Southwestern or Mexican flair, maybe some cumin in the seasonings. This would pair perfectly with it. So if you want to take your stuffing to a different place this holiday season, consider doing a chorizo stuffing with those Southwestern flavors. It's easy to prepare in the oven. You end up with something that's crispy on the outside, really tender on the inside, and flavor throughout.